Phoenix Rising by Michael Anastas. God, how long has it been since I've seen the sun? He said, as he dropped 2 of his Pokeballs into the bushes beside him. Who knows? What the hell is he talking about? Whispered a voice off in the distance. Don't know. Just looks like he's talking to himself about nothing. Is he looking at us? In our direction? Yes. Directly at us? No. It feels like we're being watched. Aren't you the intelligent one? James looked over his shoulder and found himself face to face with Gengar and Doomsday. Jesse, we are being watched! They scrambled to their feet, and the branch that they were sitting on snapped under their weight. They probably would have fallen to their doom if Ash's Leviathan hadn't caught them. Drop us! Jesse commanded. Damn it, you stupid cat! Drop us! First things first, said Ash as he paced around the duo. I saw both of you cut down right in front of me. Heck, I was the one that did it. So how, pray tell, did you live? You won't get anything out of us, shouted Jessie as she struggled to break the ropes. It's what you call a long story, said James nervously. One we really don't have time to... Merlin drew his sword and sliced the air, stopping a 1/4 inch away from James's nose. We'll help you make time. Now spill it! James swallowed hard. You know that part about Ash killing us, and we know how your 2 new recruits brought Sabrina and Mewtwo back to Paradise City and brought all of you back. You still haven't answered our question, said Ash. How did you survive? We were taken by the wraiths, said Jessie. What? You heard me. The wraiths. The ghost Pokemon from the Lord of Madness files. One of them wants you. Both of you. I swear, he's out for blood. One of us wants both of us? Said Merlin. He and Ash exchanged looks. It has to be Gary. Everything you know is wrong! James suddenly blurted out. They're not Gengar clones at all, and they're certainly not elemental like the report said. They're like blackened samurai with... We've seen one of them, said Ash. Humanoid, black in color, samurai-style armor, faceless, blood-red eyes. He took a deep breath, and massive proportions. So you know? Good. Then if you see one, you'll protect us, right? Why should we? That leads to another set of questions. Why did the race bring you back to life, and how did you get here? Jesse stopped trying to break the ropes. That kid you mentioned, Gary Oak, he isn't himself anymore. He's possessed. Whether it's his will or not, I don't know, but he's possessed by one of the wraiths. I swear, you can see it in his eyes. They took Meowth, James said suddenly. He's one of them now. Them? People who were taken by the wraiths, said James. I guess they have this temple somewhere where people could go and ask some strange god for anything they desire. He looked up at us. From what I saw, I'd say that most of them willingly gave up to them, but there have to be exceptions. Exceptions like Meowth. And how did you get here? Asked Ash. We ran, said Jessie. They didn't take us far from when they brought us back, just a few miles. They took Meowth and all of the soldiers that accompanied us when we attacked you. I'm amazed we made it out with our lives. Something doesn't smell right about this, said Faith, as she stood up from the corner. The wraiths, whom you made sound like mini-gods, tried to possess your men, succeeded in getting your Pokemon friend, and failed to catch you? That's what we said. And how did you get away? We ran. In a straight line? As fast as we could go. It still doesn't make sense. She leaned in close to James and stared directly into his eyes. You know, my ancestors might have been known for their beauty, but before then, they were carnivores. And as carnivores, they learned how to distinguish many a different scent. Don't lie to me, James. I can smell your fear. I'm telling you the truth! James cried. I swear it! And how can we be so sure? Well, for starters, the rain has come back. It meant nothing, but I still pulled out my Pokeballs. What does that have to do with it? Jessie and James tensed, refusing to move. I'm waiting. I've been looking for you. We followed Team Rocket's gaze, and there, standing in the doorway to our tent, stood Team Rocket's feline companion. Looks like you two are in a bind, said Meowth casually. Good thing I came to your rescue, isn't it? Ash and Pikachu stood before him. Whether they're telling the truth or not, it's obvious that you can't be trusted. Pika! Merlin drew his sword, and our canine stepped up beside him. Meowth, I owe you something. Want it? You received less than you gained. If anything, you should thank me for making your death quick and painless. He turned his gaze towards our canine. You will experience 1,000 times more pain than I did. I swear by Gehenna you will. Faith and I jumped to our feet. You want a piece? She asked. We'll give you something you'll never forget if you do. Andrew pulled out his Pokeballs. Kitty wanna play? Darius crossed his arms before him. You will not take one step closer without pain. Cassie held a Pokeball before her. Would you like to know how much power can be concealed in this tiny ball? Meowth surveyed his competition. You wouldn't dare attack me all at once. Gehenna knows what would happen if you did that. You make a valuable point. Merlin held his sword down to Pikachu's level, who just touched the stone and jumped back when it glowed a blinding white. I will be your challenger. Meowth smiled. Heh heh heh. His eyes turned blood red. I knew you would. What are you doing? You can't fight him now! The power we have granted you is starting to affect your brain. Best you realize that we hold the power. But this was not the plan! Ash and Merlin were supposed to be delivered. You said yourself that we wanted Ash and Merlin to think that we are trying to prevent them from reaching this facility. If Meowth loses, they will continue to believe. If he wins, then there will be no more need of this facility and the hurricane. It is a win-win situation, and we would prefer the choice which ends this cursed battle sooner. My power is beyond anything you can ever comprehend, laughed the foul creature. Merlin slowly raised his sword as Meowth began to grow. That's what the last one said. And you were not there to defeat the last one, now were you? You could never know what happened. Darius stepped up beside Merlin as Meowth's figure darkened. One at a time. You want to know what happened? Asked Darius. I was there when we banished the wraiths back to hell. Here, let me show you how we did that. He pulled a Pokeball from his belt. Care to know how we did so? Meowth was no longer Meowth anymore. In his place stood the darkened samurai which James had described. This should be rich, he laughed. If you were there, how could you make such a stupid mistake on the records? Flame elemental? Darius threw his Pokeball at Meowth. It struck the ground, and there, standing before him, was the legendary mech Pokemon famous for being banned from the league. Ungermax, the one-kill wonder. Been a while since I've seen one of these, the wraith laughed. Does it still work? Ungermax held its arms out in front of it, and its two Gatling guns rotated into position. Ungermax! Oh boy. Ungermax's machine guns rattled hard and strong, pounding against the wraith, which stumbled backwards into the darkness, tripping up one of the posts and sending the tent flying into the wind. The rain had ceased and was now replaced by heavy winds. Not bad! Shouted the wraith over the howl of the wind. Looks like there'll be no warm-up after all. He drew his shadowed sword and pointed it at Merlin. Come at me, Merlin. You know you can't resist. You're right. I can't resist. He held his sword in front of him. Let's see if you are worthy of using that sword. You're out of your mind! Meowth cannot use his sword so soon! Let him decide. Merlin will slaughter him! You're just throwing your minion away! Merlin fastened his hold on the handle of his blade and slowly edged closer to the shadow samurai standing before him. Are you ready to feel my blade? The wraith asked. Bring it on. The wraith raised his sword above his head and brought it down. Merlin barely managed to block. However, he managed to time it so perfectly that the wraith struck the stone. Dear Gehenna! The wraith shouted. No! That's not part of the rules! Merlin's sword began to emit a black flame. What rules? We're fighting for our lives! At that moment, Andrew's halberdier jumped down from the trees and sliced the wraith in half. The blackness faded, and the regular Meowth lay there on the ground. Merlin turned back to Andrew and gave him the thumbs up. Perfect timing, Andy. Just like always. Andrew smiled and shrugged his shoulders. That's what I'm here for. Didn't I tell you Meowth wouldn't last long? They barely touch swords, and now Merlin has dark power in his blade. You wanted to ensure Ash and Merlin's passage to this facility, did you not? This will simply ensure a safe journey, no matter what we throw at them. Are you blind and stupid? This will be the death of us all! Then you shall have what you wanted. Either way, Merlin and Ash will arrive at this platform, and that is all you wanted. You still don't seem to see it. They have a former minion now. Meowth will tell them what we want. They will tell them of our plans. Do you think it will make any difference to Ash or Merlin? Well, he has drawn a blank slate. Admit it. Merlin is more likely to come if he knows our intentions. You're mad.